mute so don't kill us. There we go. I think. Wait, wrong song. Wrong intro song.
These are my friends.
Scary song.
My yellow friend. It's just to take the sting. My blue friend. You'll barely feel. That means my yellow friend. Already taking effect. See how fast my friends work? And after my redheaded friend, you'll never see me.
Very scary intro. It's supposed to be a reassuring episode about medicine. That Kyle Brown Watson didn't expect that to happen.
Wow, this red is really saturated
Yeah.
on camera. Welcome to Question Block.
Welcome to Question Block.
I'm Arielist, and who are you?
I am Dr. Wires, also known as Alex. If you're listening to this because it's now a podcast and this is a recording, just an audio recording, I'm wearing a very tight-fitting white coat, dressed like a doctor. And I am a doctor, but not a medical one. And you are?
And I'm an Arielist, and I'm dressed like a nurse.
Yeah. So we'll start with the disclaimer that nothing in the ensuing 90 minutes of this show is medical advice. Neither of us is qualified to give it. Please don't listen to us.
You know.
You're a trainer, so you're qualified in that sense.
I mean, we did a lot of research, though, so all the stuff that we're saying
I
is
just
to the
don't
best.
want to get sued if we tell
Oh,
someone.
yeah, don't sue us.
Someone's like, I got these leeches and now I have parasites, and we're like, yeah, sorry.
Don't sue us. I think if you say that, it's like the patent. It's like saying a patent thing.
We have a
trademark.
We have a good trademark also.
Trademark,
also,
don't sue us.
Also copyright. So I think we got our bases covered in, for the inevitable lawsuit that's going to happen.
So we're
And hello out there on Twitch. We got a handful of viewers on Twitch too.
Yeah. So
oh, go ahead. I was going to say, my nurse here and I are going to talk about the history of medicine. We're going to talk about the latest medical advancements. It's been there's like a couple cool things that happened in medicine in the last year, so maybe we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Also, the oldest medical advancements.
What? We're going to talk the newest and oldest medical advancements. Brought to you. Medical advertising. And we've got some... We'll see how it goes. We're going to let people call in with their particular, physical malady, and we're going to give them advice from a random century.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get the Middle Ages, it's going to be bloodletting and leeches. Probably.
Maybe.
Or amputation. Yeah, amputation resulting in death.
Or maybe it's because you smell bad that you're sick. That was miasma, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, vapors. Killed a lot of people back in the day.
The smelly lines.
Yeah, that's what smell lines are. Yeah.
Disease.
They're humors. Well, do you want to kick it off and start with a little medical history? Who even said, my body hurts and I want to do something about it? Who was that?
Well, so in 2600 BC, the Egyptian...
Not older than the pyramids.
Right.
By the way.
Right.
As we know, pyramids
4,000
BC.
They didn't know what sickness was. Actually, probably the people who built the pyramids were like, ow.
Yeah, I'm sure they're like, my back is very sore from pushing stones without using wheels.
But this is so Imhotep describes the diagnosis and treatment of 200 diseases.
Imhotep?
Yeah. In hieroglyphics. So it was like guy, for podcast people, I'm sorry, but I'm being hieroglyphic right now. So it was, guy going like this.
Yeah.
Upside down
Guy holding
bird.
his forehead, upside down bird.
Sad bird. Angry bird.
Bird, mummy, chasing people. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So the Egyptians basically were on it even back then.
Yeah. Then in 500 BC...
The Egyptians they used medicine, kind of, knowledge of the body for the mummies.
Yes.
Right? They certainly knew enough to, take out your internal organs.
They did, yeah. And actually, they discovered that, incidentally, they discovered that sand was like a very good preservative.
Oh, is it true that they thought the brain was just like a junk organ?
Yeah,
They threw it out?
they did. Actually, this was a theory for a really long time until Galen, because Galen was like the first guy to do dissections, and although a lot of his stuff was like extremely wrong.
When was he?
Wait.
I don't
There's
jump ahead of the
There's one
timeline,
guy
but-
like right before him who's kind of like important.
Wait, but I want to know how long people went around thinking that brains weren't like useful.
So Galen was born in 130 AD.
Okay.
So
that's
let's say a little bit
So
after that.
Imhotep, Egyptians till then, 4,000
The brain
years
was
human
trash.
history. Your brain is trash.
Ew, the brain.
Yeah, save-
I don't think so, honey. The brain.
Save the heart, put the liver in a canopic jar, but the brain,
Yeah.
no way. Okay. So, so who came along after Imhotep?
Hippocrates.
Under Hippocrates.
Exactly. The Greek father of medicine. He begins the scientific study of medicine and prescribes a form of aspirin.
How did he make the aspirin?
He probably shaved some bark off a willow tree.
Yeah, willow bark. You can make your own.
DIY. TikTok.
I came across some like
Hack.
it wasn't, what was it? I guess like a Medium post or whatever. Maybe it was like a Tumblr, but it was like how to make
Tumblr.
your own natural headache remedy, and someone was like, this is ridiculous. You're like, all you're doing is combining a bunch of chemicals that you just get them from like random plants that are outside rather than like a chemical company which is like specifically like manufacturing these compounds. But just to make the point, yeah, even like Chinese natural remedies, like it's all chemicals.
Well,
just
not
saying-
really. Chinese. Don't hate on Eastern medicine. It's awesome.
I'm talking about like the
Healed me.
broths and potions and stuff, not acupuncture.
Okay, so Hippocrates there's two main contributions.
What did he
One
do?
is people assume that he wrote the Hippocratic Oath, but then there's also people that assume that he did not.
What's the Hippocratic Oath?
The Hippocratic Oath is an oath that the oaths that doctors take today is based upon. They don't say the same oath that Hippocrates is assumed to have written. Because that oath starts out by saying, like, I swear to, like, Artemis and Apollo, and
You
it
have to
lists...
swear to 100 different gods.
100, yeah, and then after that, it's like, and also all the other gods. It's like, what? And it also... It says, it never says do no harm. That's like the general vibe.
That's what everybody assumes is the Hippocratic Oath,
doesn't
is that it's a
say
one-sentence oath,
Yeah.
do no harm.
It says there's some key points in it, or like interesting points.
Like it's nuanced.
Yeah, it is. Well, because every medical school comes up with their own. And so like if you went to Columbia, yours might have been like the Columbia Hippocratic oath. If you went to like, I don't know.
How do they write their oaths?
The guy who founds the medical, or girl who founds the medical program at the school.
They're like, here's what you gotta promise.
Yeah,
You wanna be a
they
doctor here.
come up with it, and then I guess if
I like the idea that it's regional.
Yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
to be spoken in a Boston accent if you like go to Harvard Medical.
I promise
First treat the Irish.
the broads. I will not touch any broads that come in here for medicines. So yeah.
Rat.
Yeah, hey, talking about medicine. Woohoo.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, some reason why people think that Hippocrates might not have written the Hippocratic Oath is because it says don't do abortions, and it says don't do surgery. And Hippocrates had like detailed instructions, like step by step,
Of how
like
to do
the
abortions
wiki
and
how.
surgery.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was like step 1.
So people are like, there's no way.
But there might have been a mistranslation, which he might have just been like, really, please try not to, because at that time those things would have killed the person. So, yeah, so maybe it was like avoid, but some things that are pretty common across like all these oaths are, don't sleep with your patients. One thing that is actually not that is an olden timey thing is that doctors had to teach for free, but their students had to give them money whenever they needed it, or like had to like put them up in their
like a charity system. Oh, they had to treat people for free, but they could get paid by their students.
They were like clergymen pretty much. Like they lived a very like pious life, but everyone supported them because
because they're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there curing people.
The other thing that Hippocrates came up with is or I guess he like helped to come up with, is the four humors,
which is a wrong idea that was around until like the Victorian era, until like the 1800s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk us through the four humors.
The four humors. There's kind of like the seven dwarves. Yeah,
so there's slapstick, right? There's situational.
There's dark
humor.
Which actually no, that is one. So there's blood. There's blood.
Yeah.
Phlegm. Yellow mucus or yellow bile and black bile.
Yeah.
And these humors were associated with temperaments and also like kind of like symptoms, and they were thought to like all have to be in balance. I don't know what proportions they thought the body was made up of. I think they were like equal proportions.
Yeah.
But we actually use these like terms to describe.
But they had a great like the personality
like
test based on your phlegm.
Phlegmatic, I think that's like a temperament, right? And then there's like, I mean, I guess bloody. Oh, sanguine though. That's it's also kind of like a.
Sanguine is chill.
Yeah. So blood was associated with youth and the summer, also seasons.
She has a blood-like temper. Very chill.
So if
phlegmatic is energetic, I think.
Yeah. So if you were like lethargic. Lethargic, sorry. If you were hot and sweaty, then you would get bloodletting, for example. So, like, if you had a fever, they'd be like, too much blood. We have to get it out.
How'd they get the biles out?
They would give you poison, and then you would
get sick.
You would just like, it'd be gross. It'd be really gross. I don't know the phlegm. Like, I don't know what the phlegm. What would make
blow your nose probably, or like
that
maybe
cool,
like
though.
They like neti pot you.
Yeah.
To, like, get your phlegm out maybe.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know what they thought the yellow phlegm was. Maybe they would do ear candling for that to like maybe.
Yeah,
they
that
thought
sounds like
earwax.
the nicer ones.
Yeah, I mean, probably what they do is like slice your lymph nodes open on your legs.
I think I
you
have
like
a chart.
bleed out. They're like, all right, it should be good. Yellow phlegm is in check.
Yeah, there is. I have
Yellow
a chart in here. So,
good.
So the humor, blood associates with the spring and infancy.
Wow, it really is
air.
Like a zodiac chart.
Yeah. So if you're being infantile. Oh, hey, frog speaker. What's up? We're talking about medicine. We're talking about the four humors.
Yes, the four medieval humors.
Telling some jokes.
Continue, Nurse Ariel.
So. Yeah, blood, spring, associated with infancy, air, the liver. The qualities are warm and moist, and the temperament is sanguine.
Your qualities are warm and moist?
So if you were like had a fever,
okay.
Like
who knows?
The yellow bile was associated with summer, youth, fire, the gallbladder. It was warm and dry, and choleric.
I mean, that sounds like a nice like vacation getaway.
Choleric, though.
And
gross.
Choleric. Oh yeah.
Ooh. Not now. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so cholera bad makes you yellow. like the yellow bile. Got it.
Black bile was associated with autumn, adulthood, the earth, your spleen. The qualities were cold and dry and melancholic. So I wonder, if you were depressed.
Yeah, probably.
They would just give you like a laxative.
But you're saying the black bile, they're like, that's like it's like emo sounding.
Yeah.
That's why it's black.
Phlegm was associated with winter, old age. The element was water, the brain and lungs. The qualities were cold and moist. So I guess like if you were cold and shivering and like clammy.
Years. Yeah.
I will mention one more, like, super olden time. So we're going to talk about, like, super olden timey, regular olden timey, semi-olden timey, and then, like,
these are the various eras
of medicine. So one more super olden timey. A guy, it was Galen. And he was a physician to a lot of like gladiators and stuff.
Was he Greek or Roman?
Yeah, he was.
If it's gladiators, probably Roman.
Roman. Well, no, he was a Greek physician to gladiators.
Okay. The Greeks had gladiators. Whatever. When?
So he was born in 130 A.D.
Oh, he's Roman.
Yeah.
He was a Greek guy who was a Roman subject, I guess.
Yes.
All right.
One thing that was really funny about, he was like the first guy to do dissections, and dissections, like, they became illegal and then like unillegal and then illegal again for a long time, and that actually stalled like the Catholicism or like the church in general. It stalled, but it also helped medical develop. There are some ways that it helped medical developments, but for the most part, it
do
stalled.
Dissections, but at the same time, just by getting them to not practice medicine, they probably saved a lot of people. Because medicine mostly just killed people.
Yeah.
Until like the 1800s, it did more harm than good.
So Galen, he would dissect a lot of like animals and apes, and one of the bad things that he did was like he said, yeah, apes, everything inside apes is like the same as humans. And people were like,
pretty accurate.
Kind of, but not, because people regarded his work and his drawings as like God. Like no one debated him. So if there was a problem with someone and it didn't go along with the drawings, they would say, oh, this person is bad and wrong, and like not that they're sick or they'd be like, oh, this person.
Like, the problem is your arms aren't nearly long enough. Like,
yeah.
You don't have the physique of a chimpanzee.
Well, also he would draw these anatomical things on, like he would draw it as if they were from humans, and I'm so sorry that I don't have pictures of this, but they were like very sexy, like hot gladiators, like ripping their skin off and being like, here's my lung. But it was like a chimp's lung.
These photos sound fantastic. Yeah, we gotta.
Get
some prints. Get some prints for the studio.
Yes. I mean,
that's wild.
And yeah, you can. They're very like, they were like, hello, like here's my insides, but they were like chimpanzee insides. On like a hot man. So yeah, he kind of.
Yeah, I mean, really, until you get to like the germ theory of medicine, 1800s, like all of this stuff is really ill-fated. It like didn't help anyone.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah.
Continue.
There were a lot of like interesting little a lot of medicine like comes, like people forgot about it, like it came and went, like, and then it came back and people were like, oh yeah, like scurvy.
We'll get to scurvy. Yeah. Scurvy's been separately cured like 5 different times in history because the British Navy kept forgetting the cure to scurvy.
Yeah, which might have been because they all had scurvy.
Probably.
Another little like tidbit is that the Cesarean section, right? Everyone. So the Cesarean section was.
Thinks it's named after Caesar.
Yes.
He was born Julius.
Well, he was not born, but 100% was not born by cesarean. Well, 99% because you never know.
We know.
But was not born by cesarean section because his mother lived. And there's numerous, like hundreds of accounts of like his mother being around. And the mothers did not live.
It was a fatal procedure back then.
Yeah. So it is actually now thought that his, like, I don't remember what Caesar he was, Julius Caesar was, but whoever the original Caesar was, they think that, like, he was.
How about that? Anything this evening?
Oh.
Do you have no...
Yeah, I am.
Your hydrating beverage.
It's Mercury.
Wow, look at your stainless steel. You're drinking Mercury.
Yeah, it's one of the.
Yeah, like one of the royal.
One of the early cure-alls.
Yeah. Was that the London Academy of the Royal Academy of Sciences? Yeah.
And people have been drinking Mercury and lots of different like stuff that you shouldn't drink and eat for centuries. I think. Yeah, I think it was actually ancient China started the like eating or drinking of mercury, just because it looked so beautiful.
Yeah, like this can't be. Surely this is fine.
Yeah. Let's see. There's.
Yeah. I mean, when we get to the plumbing episode.
Plumbing.
Well, the word plumbing is the root of it is plumb, which is lead. So we're just making lead pipes, like running water through them and then drinking out of them.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm. This little sidetrack for you.
Let's see.
That's a little extra knowledge.
So these are all like doctors and like people that have to deal with
like medical innovations are cool though, right?
Yeah.
There's like the Ben Franklins or like the people who just came up with like basic like reasonable things that
Leonardo da Vinci was so after like people were like please do not dissect, it's illegal. Leonardo da Vinci was like I'm gonna dissect human corpses.
And you can't stop me.
Yeah, and he had people like go out and search for bodies for him, and then he'd be like, oh, this is just a canvas. I'm, stretching like with the body under it, and he'd like take it and have to dissect it in private.
Yeah, because he had like his famous anatomical studies.
Yeah. And then people were like, how did you draw this? And he's like, I'm like the Alex Gray
really
of, I just took acid. It's from my imagination.
Yeah. Well, they did figure drawing back then too, though. That was still a thing. So
but they're like, how did you know what it looks like inside? And he's like, beats me. Just a lucky guess.
Well, you have on your list there, you do have the invention of spectacles.
Yes! Oh,
in 1250.
my favorite.
Yeah. Early Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Came up with the idea for lenses and putting them in front of your eyes. Although, did you know that the earpiece for glasses, like that concept, is just a few hundred years old?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so for like, since glasses were invented in 1249. Yeah, so for the first 600 years, glasses just pinched on the bridge of your nose very tight.
Oh,
so the whole a pince-nez, that whole thing is that's what glasses were. You would perch them on your nose and they would squeeze your nose and then you'd get a headache after 30 minutes.
But that's everyone's nose was snatched, honey.
Yeah. But the concept of just using your ears to hold them up didn't come around for several hundred years.
So I'm wondering, should we go through all the doctors and stuff and then go back through all the diseases, or should we start talking about diseases along with?
Talk about your diseases. I mean, we can talk. Right, the microscope invented 1590.
Wait, because the plague is gonna come really soon.
It was kind of going on. The plague started up 1300s. It came and went a bunch of times.
I have that. Hang on, I have a.
You're gonna consult your plague diary.
No, I have my pandemic sheet.
Okay. Go find your.
I'm gonna go grab it. I'm gonna grab my pandemic sheet. You can say stuff.
I'll just talk. Yeah, I mean the plague was around throughout European history, and pestilence and other issues are kind of just as soon as humans started having cities because they didn't have good sewage, they like got all these diseases basically, with people living close together and not having proper hygiene. So the plague, though, specifically bubonic plague, was like especially pernicious.
Pernicious?
Yeah, spread by fleas.
Oh my gosh, this is so tiny. Okay.
Fleas living on rats, which were kind of like all over every major European city at the time.
Okay. That was 1347 to 1351.
Oh my God, there's the tiny writing on this.
I know.
1347 to when?
To 1351.
That was the first wave. The Black Plague, they like came and went a bunch of times because the last major plague was like 1660 in London.
Oh, there was also the
throughout
plague of Justinian, which was in 483 to 565.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first.
Was that bubonic plague or just a different one?
It was the plague of Justinian.
The Roman, like, yeah, if you were a Roman centurion or whatever too, like consistently, like over half the time you died from like a disease rather than dying in battle.
It's a really common theme because also in many of the wars that, at least especially World War I, a lot of the casualties were from the
infection,
influenza.
Oh yeah, in Spanish flu.
Well, that's what I was trying to be PC because it wasn't Spanish. It was like the every person's flu.
Oh yeah, influenza. But yeah, because prior to antibiotics, any like skin cut actually could be deadly because they didn't have soap and water. So yeah, really easy way to die back in the day. Also toothaches, major problem. If you got a toothache, like it was probably fatal. Cause like, what are you gonna do?
Ooh, should we talk about your favorite thing? Trepanation.
No, we'll get to that. That didn't start up yet.
No, it did. It did. Like, it's been around forever because they found skulls with these like perfect holes in them.
Where'd they find it? Like in some guy's basement?
Well, they found some in France. They found some skulls in France, and then
in a cave.
Then once one person found, no, it was like some guy was, I guess he was like standing around in like a trench or something, and then he was like, "Oh my God, a human skull!"
Okay.
And yeah,
it sounds like something somebody would say if
Sacre bleu.
If they had cut a hole in another human skull.
Well, he was smoking a cigarette because he was French, and some of his cigarette ash fell into this perfectly round hole.
Grave. Yeah.
No, in the perfectly round hole in this skull, and he was like, "Oh."
Well. Yeah. So I don't know. Tell me about the next major advance in history. We're up to what 13.
Wait, we're gonna skip completely over the plague.
Oh, tell me more about the plague.
The Black Death. The Black Death.
I don't know if this is the Black Death a history of medicine or just history of like misery and people not really figuring out what to do.
Well, so this talks about the theory of like miasma, I think.
In quarantines, I guess.
And quarantine started then too, because if you were sick, you would they would lock you up, but they would often do it with like other sick people because they ran out of room to like it wasn't like everyone had their own apartment. They were like all the sick people in here.
Yeah, and they did not necessarily realize that you shouldn't hang out next to dead bodies. So like once there were, they would like collect the dead bodies on like wheelbarrows or whatever, like in olden timey movies or whatever, right?
Seventh Seal, the Seventh Seal,
yeah, and they're just like kind of cart them to the edge of town, just like or dump them into the well, like whatever. Then like yeah.
Well, they would burn them too, which that was probably
let the vapors and the smoke spread over the whole town.
But they thought that germ or disease was carried by bad smells, so that's what you see like the plague doctor mask with the big beak because they would put herbs and things that like smelled good in that beak. Mm-hmm. And usually a priest who was a doctor, the priests were doctors, and they would wear those, and they would like the treatments air quote like how they would try and treat the Black Death. I don't think anyone really survived the plague. Like just
I mean, a bunch of people just like didn't get it really, right?
I mean,
like,
if you got it though, you were, I think you were pretty much dead, right?
No, I think it's like any disease that you would get, right? Some people get mild cases of it or whatever. It's not like 100% fatal. Some people recovered.
It's actually, it will tell me.
It tells you how many. I think I heard the stat. It was like a third or half of Europe like died from the Black Plague.
Yeah. So let's see. What is this little thingy over here? Does it say how many people? I
don't know. There's a lot of circles and lines on this chart.
Yeah.
It's pretty complicated.
I don't know. It doesn't. Well, it says that 25 million people died from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can agree that Plague Year was awesome. We don't have to get to the exact statistics because it's a history show. It's not an economics show.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't say. Oh, I guess. So these circles, I think they're these like different circles. I think they mean like how deadly it was, and so that looks pretty.
Is the circle
deadly.
big or small?
It's pretty.
Mid-size.
It's pretty big.
All right.
It's looking pretty big.
Okay, cool. It's no influenza.
It's no influenza.
But it's pretty bad. They
Um,
didn't really come up with a way to like actually cure people though. You just kind of mitigate as best you can and try to keep it from spreading.
And yeah, you would get, but it sounds like one of the scariest ones because like you get like these black like
you get the boils.
Boobobes. You get boobobes.
Yeah.
And then they would like burst open and they smelled really bad and that's gross and scary. And a lot of people thought it was the wrath of God, so they would walk around town like spanking themselves with like whips. Kinky. So kinky. That was another.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah.
like, you should go rest. What are you doing?
Yeah, because they were like, I'm bad. Ow. God, look, I'm punishing myself so you can stop killing. Yeah, they made like a big parade, a big like to do about it, you know.
Yeah, Seven Seal is probably the.
They did have that in the Seventh Seal.
It's a weird film, but it does have the plague. If you want,
has chess too.
Sort of about the plague and chess and acting.
Just like Wu-Tang Clan. I mean.
Yeah. Good summary. Yeah. All right, do you want to? We can talk a little about. If we can jump to 1656.
Your favorite.
1660. This is an era I know about, but
this your favorite time. 1669. That's your favorite.
This is like when the Enlightenment was really taking off too, and like particularly the British finally like got on board because nobody cared about them before then. They were like a dumbass island nation, and then they like got their shit together, and so Christopher Wren, who was a British guy. I guess discovered or invented the idea of transfusions, that you could like take blood and put it into an animal. So
he experiments with canine blood transfusions.
So he did it with dogs, and they did these insane experiments where they basically like tortured dogs in incredibly grotesque ways, where they'd be like, what if
what if we give the dog a cold and then give it blood from another dog?
No, they were like, what if we cut the dog's head off while continuing to pump blood to the head?
No.
Will its voice box continue to work? And they're like,
what the hell? What?
So there's actually, I read this historical fiction book called Quicksilver, and like he's a character in it, but like it's based on, I read the author wrote up, he went and looked through the proceedings of the Royal like College of Scientists or whatever, and they like. Even the scientists, they all grew increasingly disgusted with it, and they like they'd meet and like do these experiments where they like just have these screaming dogs where they're like killing these animals and stuff, and everyone's like, we're gonna leave the room. This is awful. And so yeah, Christopher Wren kept it up, and it was like sort of useful.
He kept it up.
At a certain point, after like several years, they were like, okay, we know all the limits of like what will kill the dog versus like what will work. Like, can we maybe give it a rest?
He was a sir too. They knighted him.
Oh.
They were like, please stop with the dogs, and we'll make you a knight. Just
they didn't actually that like Royal College of Scientists, right, which included like Newton and like.
The Illuminati.
They invented calculus. Like, a bunch of, like, very good, cool stuff happened. Or, like, Hooke, like, researching stuff. He was the first person to observe bacteria, like, with a microscope.
It's his...
I don't think he's even...
Leeuwenhoek. Anton von
Leeuwenhoek. Leeuwenhoek. Sorry.
Yeah. His name sounds like that ice cream, that vegan ice cream place.
Discovers blood cells and bacteria.
Anton von Leeuwenhoek.
Yeah. Anyway, so they had a lot of... Yeah, the British at this time, in the late 1600s, had a lot of technological advancements, but not really pushing medicine forward. It still was terrible.
Wait, were they... was that was like the Illuminati like society in From Hell?
Exactly.
Yes. One of my favorite crappy movies.
It wasn't them, but it's close enough.
Is From Hell, about Jack the Ripper, but they have this like secret society that does surgeries and stuff like that, and they do lobotomy.
Okay, this is stop. You're gonna confuse people with you telling them about a fictional movie.
No, but they do lobotomy. That's like, yeah, they do like trepanation.
Also, didn't work.
Well,
wait, we're about to get to the part where medicine starts being helpful.
Okay. Yay!
30 minutes into the show.
Woohoo!
Like, okay, but it wasn't all bad.
So, where would you like to jump in there?
Oh, I was gonna go with Jenner.
All right, let's do it.
I mean, we're now in the late 1700s.
So, in 1796,
Edward... sorry. One of the scurvy cures was discovered in 1750.
Citrus fruits.
But then they forgot about it and rediscovered it like 30 years later, and then again 40 years after that.
They were like, make sure that you pack citrus fruits when you go on these like sailing trips, and they were like, okay, we'll do it. And they did it for a little bit, and then they were like, I don't know. It's like a game of telephone.
Forget, and then they're just like all the sailors.
They're like,
really sick.
We've been eating Fruit Loops. I don't get it. Like, yeah, we've been drinking rum and eating Fruit Loops, and we still have scurvy. And then later on, they were like, they said fruits.
Yeah. So finally, late 1700s.
So
Jenner
with smallpox. So originally, there was this idea of like. They didn't call it like vaccines, but there was an idea of you would like infect young children or like babies with the scabs of like tiny scabs of like the disease of smallpox.
The concept of immunity.
It was around, but so Jenner, like when he was a little kid, they prepare you for these. I forget what they called them, but these immunizations, I guess. And so it's a week of like purging and just like everything out of the body, and then a week of like, warm baths and like herbs and stuff like that to make sure your body is like ready, because like I think 50% of the time you'd give the kid this disease and their body wouldn't be able to fight it off, and then they would just die. So they would like break the body down and then try and like build it up, kind of like a cleanse.
This is for smallpox?
This is what happened to Edward Jenner when he was younger, and he was like, it was one of the most traumatic, as for any kid, at the time, it was extremely traumatic. And he was like, this sucked. Like, I did not like this at all. And so later in life, he was observing that milkmaids tended not to get smallpox, and he was like, maybe that's because they get a mild case of cowpox.
Yeah, so there was another disease that milkmaids would get a lot that was very similar to smallpox but much more mild.
Yeah.
And so it was a pox also, I guess.
Yes.
I guess a pox is just you get little bumps and rashes.
Bumps. But
like
this is the lore also of why milkmaids are like so sexual and hot and beautiful. Because you would often, if you got smallpox, you would have scars all over your face, and
Oh.
and milkmaids, they would get one on like the back of their hand because they get the cowpox.
The milkmaids had great skin.
And big tits, and we love them for that, and they served beer.
Yeah.
So Jenner was like,
that's barmaids.
But also milkmaids. That's what a milkmaid top.
They serve big pitchers of milk. Pour it all over them.
So
okay, it was a milkmaid.
Yeah. So there is this milkmaid that she's like, oh, I have cowpox, and she's like, do you want to like take some of my cowpox and do stuff with it?
That's not how it happened.
It is.
No.
Yeah, it is. I swear.
That is not.
And so he took some of her like little scab on the back of her hand, and he was like, great, I will hold on to this until I find a young boy who's never been infected and who's a clean slate for me to do my experiment on.
Yeah. So
he eventually found this boy that he was looking for, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little cut.
Again, what? He found this boy. He was like, where did you do your research?
I'm
making history accessible.
I am this. So he was like, they're never gonna forget.
Finally, he found this boy.
He found a boy, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little cut. I'm gonna put the scab inside of it, and then I'm gonna observe how you feel. Yeah. And nothing happened for a week, and then after a week, the boy was like, my armpit hurts, which is where they put the scab. They put the cut in his armpit, and Jenner was like, interesting. And then the next day, he was like, the boy was like, I feel kind of weird. I feel weird. And Jenner was like, okay. And then the boy like slept, and then the next day after that, he was fine. And Jenner wrote to his friend, and he's like, I've got it, like, vaccines.
Okay.
And so, people didn't have to go through the scary process of like,
oh, hey, Anne. Anne's on Twitch.
Anne's on Twitch.
Yeah.
And thank you for your
lab
coat.
This wonderful lab coat.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Jenner developed vaccines. That was a really humanizing story that you told us about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happened?
And then,
the stethoscope is really interesting. That's in there.
Yeah.
Renee Laennec.
Cool
thing about a stethoscope, you can make it yourself out of just a cardboard tube. If you just hold it to somebody's chest, you can actually still hear stuff that's going on inside their body.
That's going on.
The neat thing, like a lot of these inventions, right? Like the glasses, for example, too, and the stethoscope is that stethoscope especially could have been invented at any time in human history, but it took until 1816 for people to figure out if you listen to what's going on inside someone's body, you can tell things about if they're sick or not.
You have to insert listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart.
Right. There was also Sir Humphrey Davy discovers the anesthetic properties of nitrous oxide. Whippets, everybody.
Or laughing gas.
Yeah, nitrous, I guess. Yeah, because before that, if you had to have surgery, which again, you would probably die. It was very, very painful. Yeah, I don't know.
Wait, when did you say that was? That was in 18.
That was 1800.
100. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff, I guess, was developed and useful during war. In the Civil War, I think they still were just giving you you'd get whiskey and bite a stick while they amputated your leg. Right?
They'd smack you. They'd be like,
you can't feel pain while another nerve is sensing pain.
Yeah.
Slap you in the face.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Oh wait, you can't because we just cut off your arm.
Nice. Let me see the prop. When did they start using ether? If you have nitrous, was that before then?
Well, actually, can I just say something about, my profession, which is the nursing profession. The Civil War actually had a lot to do with that because...
With ether?
No, with nurses.
Okay, why?
Because there was like basically before that, a lot of the nursing stuff came from nuns, and at this time there was like a shortage of that going on, and so they just needed like extra help, and they actually put out like ads for. They were like, yeah, but we kind of want like older, like less attractive women to be nurses, because like we want the hot ones to like stay behind, to like maybe not die, or like, you know. Also, there was a lot of they were like, when nurses wore black at that time or dark colors,
so they would look like nuns.
Yeah, and also they had to get rid of their hoop skirts, because that was sexy, and they didn't want like anyone to be distracted, but also there was like a incident, I think, where one of the like hoops got caught on like a
wagon
stitches
wheel?
no on like stitches, and like ripped it out, and it was a nightmare. So yeah, nursing really like had its big startup during the Civil War. Its big like rise.
Okay, this one became a thing.
Yes. There's a lot of work that had to do with nitrous for in the 1800s. There's like.
Wait to the next page. You're already at the Civil War.
Yep. There's like. Oh wait! Elizabeth Blackwell was the first woman to gain a medical degree from Geneva Medical College in New York in 1849.
We should do an interlude or something. Do we have any games?
Any games?
Yeah. What do we got? We don't want to do straight 90 minutes of history, right? We should break it up.
Oh, any games? Let's see. Do you want me to cure?
Yeah, I'll give you a malady and you cure it. You
Okay.
tell me the cure.
Should I tell you what
Based on-
disease you have too?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we deciding what time period, or am I picking the time period based on the disease or malady?
Yeah, I guess based on the malady. Like, yeah, I'll think of, let's see, I'll say, okay, I get. Okay, so I'm having trouble sleeping. I like stay awake at all hours. I'm very irritable, and jumpy, and like I yell at lots of people. I'm very short-tempered and angry,
Wait.
and I feel a real lack of creativity as well.
Oh, so you must be from this must be like from, I guess, the 1950s onwards, because emotional stuff didn't exist in medicine before.
Oh, fine. We'll forget the lack of creativity. It's just I'm jumpy and running around and yelling at people. And
You must be a doctor.
I'm irritable. Are you gonna diagnose it?
You have dancing sickness.
when was dancing?
You must be a
sickness?
woman. I'm gonna give you morphine so that you must have mania, and I will give you morphine
I'll give you morphine,
so
and
that
I'm
you
gonna
can
jerk
shut
you
up
off.
and go to sleep. Oh yeah, and I'm
gonna manually masturbate.
I'm gonna
you.
masturbate you.
Okay. Correct
Hold
answer.
on.
Actually, it was caffeine addiction from drinking too much coffee, and the year is 2015.
Damn it! Oh, this you always get me. But yeah.
You've now addicted this woman to morphine, but she is satisfied.
Oh yeah, it's like this is like Oregon Trail kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. If
You have died of dysentery. Buttered roll, what's up? We're talking about medicine. Medicine. Yeah, this is like, we're about to get to like my favorite time though, because my favorite doctor ever, the doctor from the Nick, and also the first trans doctor.
Oh, let's just talk about them. Get to it.
Dun, dun, dun. The first. Oh yeah, I have like so many notes in so many different places.
Wow.
Let's see.
1870. Pasteur. establishes the germ theory of disease.
Oh, the germ. Wait.
Also, pasteurization. A way to kill germs that are living in your milk.
Whiskey cures.
Whiskey, not pasteurized, but the alcohol content does kill germs, so preserves
That's
well.
true. Actually, and that's what a lot of people used to drink, just whiskey all the time. Instead of, because they were like, it's healthier than water.
Well, yeah, and beer and tea and coffee are all solutions for that, right? So, like...
Yeah.
Faithy Dark can talk about whale stuff, but wants to know if there are filters.
Oh, yeah. There's no filters.
What? You mean you can turn on a filter?
No, like you can say whatever you want.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they meant like
No. Okay, let me handle this. No, not those.
Okay, I'll let you figure it out. We're gonna learn about whales? Whale doctors?
Maybe. We'll see. Let's see. All right. The request has been sent.
All right, let's see what happens. Let's go with it.
Oh,
they're not ready. I think they meant...
for your vase.
You.
Oh!
I told you.
All the filters. Okay. Oh, for your face. Let's see.
They're right there. There's a button that I pressed is the filters button. Just go pick one of these.
Okay.
Here, we can be flamingos or something. I don't know what's going on. Hit some of this.
Ooh, we're cartoons. Whatever that one is cool.
Okay.
There's like snow.
So pick a good one. And then
wait, I like this
go from
cartoon.
there.
That's a weird one.
All right. For those of you on Twitch, I guess you can see us. You can see the Instagram feed in the corner to tell what's going on.
Oh, here we go. This one's cute.
Butterflies. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Why? Man, we could have been doing this the entire show. I need all the filters.
I was like, you can say whatever you want. It's fine.
I know, and I knew that's.
Hello. Oh, hello.
Sorry, I'm like in the.
You're in the dark. It's.
Room. I know it's creepy, and we're gonna talk about creepy whale stuff.
I love it.
Okay, cool. Maybe that's a little better. Oh God, I'm terrible.
You look
nice.
Here's the filter thing.
Yes, it's a little smiley face with like the sparklies coming off its head.
Yeah. Oh, we each get our own filters.
All right, I see it. All right,
yes.
That's weird. All right, we'll go with that.
It's like
Nice.
cute eyelashes. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, so do you want me to just jump into it? It's like maybe 2 minutes tops.
Oh yeah, you can. This
I've
is.
got my notes. So.
This is your platform.
Okay. Now, so in the 1700s, it starts with a little story. So in the 1700s in Australia, there were some men who were walking on the beach, and they came upon a dead whale. These men who were probably drunk, definitely drunk, I
Australian.
think. One of them just goes ahead and plunges into the dead whale carcass, and his friends are like, oh, that's not good, so they try to get him out, but it's too hot and like stinky, so they just waited out and hoped for the best. And 2 hours later, the dude emerges, and not only is he sober, but he's cured of his rheumatism, or so he says. And after this incident, the so-called like whale cure thing became a thing, and there were seaside hotels in Australia that would like advertise these whale baths, almost like a Turkish bath. And people would come from all over to do this. Unfortunately, the like gross part is that it did involve killing a whale. Like they would go and kill a whale, and then they would cut holes in the whale so that people could be like stuck in with just their head sticking out.
Oh my god!
The goal, ideally, was that the lower part of the lower part of the human body would be sunken all the way into the whale's intestines, which is nice. For the best effect, you want to be inside the dead whale for 20 to 30 hours, and the whale should be dead for about 40 hours before you spend your like 20 hours inside the dead whale. So in the early 20th century, this petered out, but up until then, it was considered legit by scientific and medical circles. And the thought now is that like the combination of like and being really tightly wrapped up in there produced like a sauna effect.
Oh.
Like sweat box effect. So it was basically like a really natural sauna.
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
And that's it. That's what I know about dead whale.
This is fascinating.
Curing.
I mean, yeah, that was incredible because we like looked up so much stuff and did not come. That's amazing. And it's I guess it's also like compression, compression, elevation.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
That it weirdly works.
Maybe the oil, the oils, like the fats.
So like I have so many aches and pains.
Right? You're like count me in. Yeah, let's seaside.
Well, you get a lot of omega-3 fatty acids probably,
right?
From the whale carcass.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess. Jonah of Jonah and the Whale, he was just like doing splits. He came out. He was like kablam. He was like kablamming, shablamming.
Yeah, he was probably feeling it, like feeling good when he came out of that whale.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man.
When did you do this research that you had this story ready?
It's not my research. I owe it entirely to Caitlin Dowdy, who does Ask a Mortician. I don't know if you've heard of it. She does this amazing podcast. It's called Ask a Mortician, and she talks about all sorts of weird death-related things that like weird questions that people might have from morticians. But she's also a historian, so she talks a lot about like death throughout history. And this was one of her podcasts that really caught my attention. So I watched it again and I brushed up. I took a few notes. But yeah, I can't take credit for the research, unfortunately.
Well, you did the research of the research, so
yes, you did the research
yeah,
for us.
and
I did.
New podcast too. Like, yeah, we listened to
checking it out. If anyone here is like into weird death related stuff and weird cures for stuff, especially she does a lot of like medieval studies. A lot of weird shit happened in medieval times.
yes.
A lot of it. So yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you
your story.
so much. Is there anything that you wanna?
You're so welcome.
That you wanna?
Some filters kept going like on and off.
It's like there.
But at least
It was.
like,
I love it's like the mysterious like, and this actually is newly a podcast, so you don't need any filters for that. So we'll send it to you when it's uploaded, and then you can share it, and then people can do research on your research of the
it's
research.
Just the story that gets passed around.
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is there anything that you'd like to like plug or say or anything you want to put out there?
Gosh, I hadn't thought about it. I'm plugging myself.
Yeah, yourself.
Good. Not having like weird, and I do have all sorts of random weird like death information. But I'm teaching virtual private lessons at the moment. I teach Lyra. I teach flexibility and Lyra and conditioning for aerialists. So if anybody on here is also interested in that, feel free to check out my Instagram page. DM me.
Yes.
Slide in there.
Do it, because you have an
Nice.
amazing Instagram page. It's so good. So yes.
Yeah, and when I'm back in New York, if you guys are, hopefully you get back up and running, I would love to be in one of your shows.
Oh, we will be back up and running, and you will be in that. That is the future that we have told. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I would love to.
Oh, we would
Maybe
love to
it's
have
like
you.
a whale-themed thing.
Yes, it's
Oh, yeah,
Well,
sea shanties are very big
sea
right now.
shanties, right? Sea shanties
Yes,
on TikTok.
Yes. I love it.
Yes, and
Thank you again.
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll
You're welcome.
we'll do another death-ish themed kind of creepy, spooky thing, and we'd love to have you back
Sounds
on.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye. There we go. Oh my goodness.
This is our medical correspondent, Faithy Dark.
Yeah.
With
Oh, that
some-
was so interesting.
Some info
Let's
about
see.
healing baths inside whale carcasses.
I mean, yeah.
See,
Yeah, I'm
why
like
didn't they
looking
come
at
up,
these
Why didn't the Greeks come up with that? Why didn't
with
you know?
filters.
No, with filters. Other filters do make you look better.
I'm like, what's this? Ooh, we have
It's the
purple hair
one.
now.
Wait, what's the flamingo one? Does that turn us into flamingos?
I like our purple hair. I think, are we going to be in a pool floating?
It makes it just look kind of orange.
Oh, we look like we have too much blood. Let's do a bloodletting.
We look sanguine.
Yeah, we should cure the diseases that we have, like, from these
Oh,
filters.
yeah. Like the butterflies that we had before.
Yeah, what will the butterflies be?
I mean, that's like whatever Joan of Arc had.
Oh my god, I don't like that one.
Creepily sideways.
I don't like that one.
Too dark.
I don't know what's going on
All
here.
right.
Very airbrushed. I like that.
Whatever's going on.
It's cute.
it's
It looks
looking good.
cute.
Everyone on Twitch is bored by this.
Yeah.
So sorry about it. Well, let's continue with your history.
Yeah, I was just looking.
You're coming up on the 1900s when everything gets exciting. It's
Wait.
when the Nick takes place.
It is. Wait, can I talk about the barber pole?
Oh yeah.
Because that happened in the 1700s.
That was like Middle Ages, 1700s.
Well, I mean, sorry, it happened in the 1300s, but then up to the 1700s.
Okay.
So the barber pole.
Why do barber poles? Why are they spirally
As they are.
like red and white or red, white, and blue?
Okay, this is wild, and it's so crazy that you, a doctor, didn't believe.
I didn't believe
This.
I didn't believe. Then you played for me an explanatory YouTube video, which I still didn't believe.
And then we had to look at the Wikipedia.
And then Wikipedia also confirmed
Oh, it was a whole thing. This is wild. Okay, so the barber pole.
Do you mind if
So-
I grab a beverage while you tell
Yeah.
us? Do you need seltzer or anything?
No, I'm great. I should be grabbing you. I'm the nurse. I should be like doing the
Yes.
things, right? Okay. So, actually, in 1163, Pope Alexander II prevented popes from being doctors because he was like, I don't really enjoy the bloodletting. I think that's kind of like against God, so no popes can be doctors anymore. So that really opened things up for barbers. Barbers were, they were like, we cut hair. Now we can be doctors as well. We can do some bloodletting. We can use leeches to do this. We can also pierce people and let their blood out when there's too much of it. And so in their shop, they would have a pole that people would grab onto to make their veins more prominent, with a bucket under a little bowl underneath it for the blood to run into. And then this pole also had a ball at the top, like a terrarium for their leeches to be kept in.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
at the time,
The Aqueous Leech Dome.
At the time, barber surgeons would advertise their services by putting bowls of blood outside, just
Like on the windowsill.
yeah, just on the windowsill, and also strings of teeth, because they would pull teeth. So they'd be like, look at what we can do. And that's just the way that they would advertise. But in 1307, it became illegal to have this blood and teeth thing. They were like, you have to just throw that junk in the Thames right after
dump it into the giant sewer
Yeah,
that runs
'cause
through the
that's
middle
clean.
of London.
And so that, the barbers were like, what to do?
How can I promote my services?
So they would take the
A sign or picture just won't do.
They would take the bloody bandages from, because you'd get your blood let, and then they'd wrap you with bandages like compression, right? And so the bandages would be like red and white striped, and they'd wrap them around this like pole that, you know, they'd put the pole outside the shop to advertise their services. And then over time,
you know what though? Here's the thing. This just connection just came to me. Like a barber, like you would go to a barber and they probably like cut your nails, like, and they like cut your hair because it's getting too long, like you're producing too much, and like
the fifth humor, hair.
Exactly. Yeah. They're
where's that theory? Like this.
They're like I'm here to like your body's gonna overproduce stuff. Maybe they exfoliate you. They're like your body's gonna produce a lot of excess stuff that you don't need. I'm here to pare it down for you. I'm gonna trim your fingernails, toenails.
They jerk you off.
Cut your hair. Get rid of the yellow phlegm or whatever. Yeah. Get rid of your bile.
Why wasn't that like?
They did enemas too, right? Didn't the barbers also do enemas?
Yeah, that was one of the humors that they were like.
It was one of the to get your black bile out, I guess, or whatever. But they do enemas, and they're like
one of the biles.
So that's why. So they're like, yeah, bloodletting too. It's like your body, it's gonna produce too much blood. We're gonna have to, just like your hair, we need to trim it. We need to reduce your blood amount. Okay, continue. Sorry, I think I understand the philosophy of why they thought barbers should be doing bloodletting though.
Well, they had the tools. They had like they're like you got the scissors.
He's the only guy in town who has scissors. So what are you gonna do?
Got sharp stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they were like, okay, so this like whole, you know, the taking the bandit, then they got to hang that pole with the leeches and everything outside every day, and it was like so annoying. So they're like, why don't we just make like a fake one of these and then we like stick that outside?
Yeah.
So they started doing that. Then.
So pole covered in bloody bandages with a ball at the top to represent the leech terrarium.
Right. And
and a ball at the bottom to represent the
a
blood
bowl,
collecting.
a bowl, sort of a little like
the
flare thing at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 1540, the barber surgeon company, so that they were like, okay, barbers can only extract teeth now. They got to stop like doing the other stuff. So they were like, barbers can have a blue and white pole and surgeons have a red and white pole outside, you know, to like separate.
Still not much difference between.
But then in 1745, the two trades were officially severed. Get the pun.
Nice. And this is like, I guess before dentistry was really much of a thing at all.
Yeah.
So
they were formally separated. And so they were like, you know what, barbers, you can just have the pole thing. You can, you know, surgeons They'll have a Red Cross or something.
So next time you have to pay $1,000 a month for medical insurance, you should be indignant because these are really just glorified hair salon technicians.
Yes, but in London, England, I guess, barber poles are just red and white. And in America, we kind of were like, we'll be a little patriotic. We'll slip some blue in there, you know. But yeah, the reason if you recall, the red and white was for the surgeons, and so like when they severed the two practices, the surgeons were like, they felt bad. They were like, you can have our cooler looking red and white one, you know. So,
yeah. Also, even back then, you wouldn't call them doctors. Like calling a medical professional a doctor
was
actually
insulting. No, at the time. I'm kidding.
It's insulting to the doctors, probably.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "How dare you? Like,
I'm a pope.
This is a barber. Yeah, this is a barber, and I'm a doctor at Oxford College. Yeah, but yeah, doctors adopted as the medical profession became professional, and it stopped being just the guy with the scissors. I don't know when that came about. Probably it's like 1700s, 1800s is when like physicians. Or medical professionals started calling themselves doctors, and they came up with an accreditation system and like medical college and all of that. But it is funny that, I don't know, not funny, but in the modern day, you think of doctors are very like highly trained professionals. They're very smart people, but it's just because their profession itself has moved just in a couple hundred years from being done by barbers.
So we're going to talk about our two favorite doctors.
Okay.
The first trans doctor, and William Stewart Halsted.
First trans doctor was James Barry.
Yeah, we'll talk about James Barry first.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have a different favorite doctor. These are your two
Oh,
favorite
these are
doctors.
mine. Okay. So, James Miranda Stewart Barry was born in around, because they didn't have birth certificates. They were like, probably. Around 1769. This says 1769, give or take 25 years.
It's like everyone was just an orphan back then. They didn't really they didn't know.
Yeah, until July 1865. So, James Barry was born Miranda Stewart, and really wanted to become a doctor. And of course that was like not allowed for women. So her family was like very cool. And they were like, okay, so we're going to figure out a way to make your dreams come true. We are we're going to send you abroad to go to medical school. You're going to disguise yourself as a man. And then you can go to like Malta as a woman, where they were allowing female doctors.
Yeah, how is this not a movie?
It is. It actually is, and I forget the name of the
movie called?
I forget the name of the movie. Oh, sorry. Their name was Margaret Ann Buckley. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. So I was looking. So they were gonna have Buckley at that time go work under Francisco de Miranda.
Francisco de Miranda.
Yes.
Cool name.
He was a general, right? But by the time Buckley, who is now James Barry, got out of medical school, Miranda was like a political prisoner. So that they were like, all right, gonna have to be a man.
In Malta?
I believe it was Malta. I'm just double checking.
All right. Well, that's fine. So anyway.
Well,
so Barry went on to have an illustrious career.
So James Barry, they went to Cape Town, South Africa. That was like the first major place that they went. And there's actually a town in South Africa that's named after Barry.
Is it called, what's it called? Berryville?
It's like Berryville, I think. So then they went to Crimea. They helped stop a cholera pandemic in Malta. They also had yellow fever, and then they got cured for it. And also successful performed the first cesarean section where the mother and the child survived. And yeah, lived there his entire life as a man, and no one like found out anything. There was like he did have a trusted friend, and sort of like intern who helped him out with everything, and that intern probably knew, and was said to give him like 6 towels every day along with his clothes. So that was thought to like make his shoulders more broad.
Padding.
He also he lied about his age. This is another reason why they're not quite sure when he was born, because he said that he was like 13 when he was like in his 20s, just because he was a small, very small person,
pretty looking boy.
But Florence Nightingale actually was like
famous nurse.
Yeah,
Florence Nightingale.
Florence Nightingale was like, James Barry was
hated James Barry.
Such a jerk. Like, she was like, I have literally been through everything.
Florence Nightingale said this after James Barry was dead, too.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking ill of the dead.
Yeah, and was like,
Yeah.
that man, like, she was like, forget the war.
Yeah.
Like, that man was the worst.
No.
Like, yeah. They used to put all the teeth from psychiatry. Yes! Oh my gosh. Okay, so we are going to talk about
Oh my God.
psychiatry a little bit as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How cruel.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Dr. Wires, despite being a doctor, gets very cringy when it's like matters of the head
Ripping
things
all
happening
the
to
rotting
the skull.
teeth from the psych patients. Yikes.
Yeah, that happened in From Hell, my favorite Johnny Depp movie. They take the
It's because most people love pointing out historical inaccuracies in films.
Oh, and it happened in the Nick too.
You can't get over pointing out that the bad movie From Hell has some historical accuracies.
Wait.
Like, really
but it happened in the
insane.
Nick. It happened in the Nick to the
They pull the teeth from a psych patient?
Yes.
Yikes.
Oh my God, they're boxes with pliers. Oh, that is insane. That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yikes. Hello. Art by Tigress.
Faith Lee Dark says she worked in a 209-year-old psych
Oh,
hospital.
you love Sucker Punch.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
Easily
we have
based
so
on,
much to talk about.
And we're going to have a whole
Yeah.
psych episode.
Yes. Oh yeah. So in the Nick they do that, and we'll talk about the Nick soon because we're gonna have to talk about Dr. Halstead.
Well, he's the next chronologically.
Yeah,
The last
but-
doctor that I wanted to talk about was Fleming, but he's like 19 late 20s
He's in the
to 40s.
But yeah, for James Barry, when can I say like just really quick about the yeah,
About what?
when he died,
Sure.
they found out that he was like, I want to be buried in the clothes that I die in. I don't want any like nothing fancy. Just put me straight in the ground.
No one touch my body. Nobody go
just
feeling around for things.
yeah. But there's the woman
But
who's
you were like, but he died of dysentery, so they were like, we're gonna have to clean.
yeah,
him.
they
We're
were
gonna have to
like,
clean him up.
this is a
We can't
respected
just-
doctor. Like we
can't just
can't
bury him like
in
this.
these poopy clothes.
Yeah.
So they there's this woman who was preparing him to bury him, and was like, wait a second, like wait, this is a woman, and then
This is just a bunch of towels. Sentient towels stuffed into a man suit.
and then it's really good, and then she was like, also I think this woman has had a baby before, and when she confronted the servant that would, or the intern that would go around with him,
Yeah.
and the intern really wouldn't say anything to it, and like actually very recently all of these like discoveries have been confirmed.
Yeah. You were saying in the record,
In the records,
Barry had a mysterious sister who appeared.
a much younger sister who just appeared on the scene, and it is now that person is confirmed to be
Do you think
your daughter.
Barry had the kid with their assistant?
There was another doctor that I think, yeah, there's like another doctor.
I can't believe there isn't you said there's a movie, but it would.
Yeah,
This
well,
in,
we have to
this
watch
in
it. We
itself
should have
would make a
watched it.
pretty great television series. That should be a character on the Nick if they ever do season 3.
Well, they're not quite. They don't quite line up.
Time wise.
100%. Yeah, they're like they just missed each other. They're like sailors passing in
the Nick pulls in people from anywhere,
Well, this was like end
in
of
the
the
late 1800s too.
This was like end of the
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about your other.
William Stewart Halstead. Who was born in 1852 and lived to 1922.
I guess before House, we should give a shout out to Lister.
Oh yeah, Lister. That's right, Lister. Because Lister was finally someone was like, hey, you guys, like, disease isn't really like spread by bad smells or like the,
Because we said like Pasteur had already invented pasteurization and like the germ theory of like illness or sickness, and that like there's actually tiny little microbes that like make you sick, and then proved it, and then like with pasteurizing milk to like make it safe to drink. And doctors still like weren't washing their hands, and they like weren't sanitizing wounds, And so Lister was like,
he was like,
enough!
You guys!
Enough! Yeah.
He was like, also, I have this knife that's really sharp.
And he came up with the mouthwash also.
Listerine.
To kill the germs in your mouth.
It's so spicy. It's like a sharp knife on your mouth. So, yeah, Lister was like, you guys, please, like, actually washing your hands. He wasn't about washing your hands per se. He was about, instead of asepsis, he was like antiseptic. So he was like, let's kill the germs instead of let's get rid of the germs. Right? So he was like, you got to soak your hands in carbolic acid for like 10 minutes before you do surgery. You soak your hands until they're just bones, and then you can do surgery. And he wasn't like because most of the surgical practices today are based up, yes, they're sanitizing, but there's also like cover your hands with gloves. Yeah, it's not like
microbes on it.
Let's kill the germs. It's like, let's just keep the germs away from stuff first. William Stewart Halsted was like, I like this guy. I'm all about this. And he was like, I love surgery, and I will do surgery all around the city, except the hospitals.
He was an American. He lived in New York.
He did.
Okay.
And the hospitals had to be clean enough for him, though, to do his surgeries. And I gotta have like a very clean. Would not like. He was like, oh my god, I killed the germs, and then he had a tent built. My surgeries in here. If you watch The Nick, it's an awesome show. It has Clive Owen. It's really good. The Clive Owen character is based on Halsted. So Halsted also discovered that cocaine could be used as he kind of got it.
But the paper that he wrote about using cocaine as a surgeon managed to get published without major editing. But he's clearly really from, I don't know what journal this was.
It was the American Medical Journal.
The American Medical Journal. Okay, published this. Yeah.
Yeah. So
about 100 years ago, but like not that long ago.
It was in 1884.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He read a medical record that there was an eye doctor who put cocaine, like he injected cocaine in someone's eye. He was able to do surgery without the person feeling. I want doctors to actually see if this works on other parts of the body. And Halsted was like, I would love to be that doctor. So yeah, in 1922 the publication was in 1885. Sorry, that was like a bunch of dates. How many possibilities may best explain, nor yet as to a loss to comprehend why surgeons have, and that so many, quite sure to prove, especially to them, attractive. Still do I not think that this circumstance or some sense of obligation to rescue fragmentary reputation for surgeons induced me several months ago to write on the subject in hand of the greater part of somewhat comprehensible paper, which poor health disinclined me.
Cocaine addiction.
No, he just died. He just died regular.
He did regular die.
He died just.
Doctors addicted to it, right? And then they died.
Yeah,
a lot of his contemporaries also died
to save his then girlfriend, soon to be wife's, like hands from carbolic.
Ooh.
Like acid. And she was like, yo, my hands
this carbolic
can't take
acid
this
is bullshit.
Yeah. But like, thin, flexible rubber gloves, and they were like, you got it, dude, and there you go. So nice. Yeah. And he gave them to her, and then they got married.
That was his wedding gift.
Yes.
Nice.
His vows were very long, probably. It's just like that.
Well, that brings us. We're close to the modern day. We're going to talk about, I guess, two more major advances. So antibiotics were invented by another Alexander, an Alexander Fleming. And so he's but also brilliant.
Like all Alexes.
Just cool, like most Alexes. Yeah. So he was like born into the late 1800s, and then he just had he was like a good student, got a scholarship, but was like 19 and like kind of directionless in his with honors and everything, and then
like
he
you
had
Alex's
joined
do.
the rifle club at his school. Guy recommended and pushed that he become a researcher at the college so he could stay on the rifle team. And he was like, oh. Then World War One happened. In World War One, he noticed. Here's the key about Alexander Fleming is that he didn't discover.
Was he the guy who like was the bro who like?
But like, mostly he's just good at noticing stuff. Discoveries in his lifetime. So the first one ever, and that was actually killing more soldiers than comes. And he realized this, and it turned out bacteria inside the wound, and that would cause infection and kill people. But your body produces its own like immune response. And the antiseptic was actually wiping out all of your like white blood cells, rubbing, I guess, and like cleaning off with like I don't know turpentine or something or
Mercury.
alcohol the outside of these wounds, and it made it more likely to get infected. So nobody listened to him. He like published a paper, improved it, and his advisor like got behind it too, and everyone ignored him, and a bunch of people in World War I died from using antiseptic. And then he got his job working in a lab, and was very sloppy and routinely would get. In 1922, he discovered lysosome, which is he was growing some kind of bacteria and noticed that some mold had grown on it.
That's the next one.
That actually is the story of penicillin.
Okay, we'll get there.
This is he had grown some bacteria and he put some of his own snot into,
what? Are you serious?
Yeah, in 30 minutes or something, it had like cleared out the bacteria around it, and then he was like, oh holy shit, what the fuck, and like. It was the first time someone had realized that the human body produced something that would kill bacteria. And so then they realized that he then tried with like... Well, so there's a great quote from one of his grad students recently, and they ran their eyes so they would cry. So he discovered this chemical the human body produces, the first like antimicrobial chemical they found that a body produces, which is lysosome. And they left a bunch of petri dishes on the edge of his lab bench. And when he came back... various like stuff had landed in one of them had the same like pattern, some fungus that was growing, and it had killed the bacteria on it. And not one small step for like a lab assistant. That was penicillin. So he isolated just being like, fuck you, I'm right, because no one cared. He discovered that there was a fungus that would kill like pathogenic, presented at a conference, and no one cared. A way to mass produce it though. So the medical community wasn't that interested. But he showed, actually, it wasn't him, but treated conjunctivitis with it. He famously then, he was still on the rifle team. The captain of the rifle team got conjunctivitis, so got pink eye, basically, before a meet. So he wasn't going to be able to compete. And Fleming treated him with penicillin, taken from a mold, and cured his pink eye. So that he could, like, win the rifle tournament.
That's so cool.
It sounds like a Rodney Dangerfield movie. So anyway, he persisted for 12 years, and then finally in 1940, a different lab was like published their findings, and he apparently like wrote to that. I thought he was dead. So Fleming showed up, worked with those guys. They isolated, mass-produced penicillin, and they had it ready by 1944 for World War II, and so they'd produced enough for like the Allies, and so that's why within just a couple of years, penicillin was everywhere. And Fleming, even from the very beginning, before they even mass-produced it, knew about antibiotic resistance, too. So he has all these available at the corner drugstore because the common worker might just take some but not take enough to cure their illness, and they'll create antibiotic-resistant bacteria.
Oh, well, that's like the theory that people have where they're like, like create bacteria that's like...
True, but
crazy.
that's mostly just has ethanol in it.
No, but I mean that's like the same vibe, right? That he was like.
Yeah,
he was like, I don't.
That only doctors can prescribe and make sure everyone takes their full dosage.
My dad is actually allergic to penicillin.
As am I.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm allergic to a couple antibiotics, which is funny because they're random funguses. But yeah, you can be allergic to them. The bacteria becomes resistant to it.
Yeah.
1941, I think. Fleming's. It was his brother's like coworker had mended his spinal column, and he recovered within a few days. So that's what convinced everybody. They were like, oh wow, this is a miracle drug.
Yeah, because that was... They might drill a hole in your skull.
All right, you can talk about... We should finish up in a bit. You
okay.
Talk about trepanation.
I guess...
We'll talk about mRNA vaccines, and we'll end it.
right? So it's when like,
They're
or
like
big.
quarter size.
Or big, just holes. Not something that you should do.
Yeah. I read a long article in the New York Times like years ago.
And they're like, don't tell your doctor.
Dedicated colds. Yeah.
But yeah, just, I mean, that's like a way that
you don't puncture your brain. You just carve.
which is like the
Yeah.
language area. This is just an interesting thing. If you do have to have for like a real surgery, this is like a fascinating thing.
Cool tidbit here.
Because like they'll make, but they don't do that right away because they assume that there might be some swelling after the operation, and they don't want that to like mess up the healing process. So they take that little piece of skull and they put it in your abdomen. Go back and get it. They put it back. Yeah. So there you go. There's something interesting.
That's so funny. Yeah, they're like,
cute.
we're just gonna create a little pocket for you to hold on to this thing.
Yeah.
You don't.
But there is like, yeah. I guess we'll really quick go over. Like, so throughout medical history, if you were acting psychotic, or just if women were acting in ways that like men didn't want them to, addicted to drugs, which a lot of people became addicted to drugs.
Have 12-step back then.
And then cocaine was used to like treat morphine addiction, and then heroin was used to treat cocaine addiction, and it was like a crazy thing, and people would get addicted. It was like if you were addicted to drugs, like if you were beyond the physical, if you were able to get past like the physical addiction, but you still had like a psychological criminals who were inclined to like this happening.
And I said there's still a lot of people who hold that viewpoint.
Yeah.
Actually, which is
just kind of
like
sad.
why addiction counts.
And which we'll have to do an episode on, which is psychology.
We will have
and
to do
addiction,
psychology.
like psychiatric addiction treatment, not just like putting you on drugs, because that does work. But like like
Yeah.
methadone works, but also therapy.
Don't knock Bupe.
Don't say it.
So the most recent like major medical development last year was the first mass vaccines, like the giving someone smallpox.
They
right?
could give them a teeny
a
bit.
very similar but not deadly virus
Mm-hmm.
that's lesser, right? You can also give someone
a deactivated virus.
a deactivated or dead virus, right? Which is what the typical influenza vaccine is.
The flu.
They like for a lot of stuff. That's actually how most vaccines.
You're like, oh.
I was wondering. I was like, how do they get the dead?
Yeah.
Like, I guess they treat it in a test tube. Not fair. Anyway,
Yeah.
they get some dead flu or
Flus were
deactivated virus
killed
particles. So everybody's good. All of the currently approved vaccines are based on this technology because the coronavirus is mutating. But the Moderna and Pfizer out there, because this is just a reasonable thing, it's based on mRNA, which is the instructions to encode proteins. So what you actually get in your cells basically start, they don't know any better, they just take the instructions and will build little spike proteins that look like the tips of coronavirus. And your body's like, I should learn how to handle that. And then your immune system learns to fight it. So it's getting injected with basically little blueprints for like how to make a little piece of coronavirus, and first used commercially last year.
Okay, should we end on the deadliest pandemics in history?
I want to end on a fun medical.
Oh, that'll
fact.
be rave review.
We got anything else? We have anything more upbeat?
No. This is upbeat though. I think this is upbeat. This is because this is something that I was very surprised to learn.
Okay.
Like, right, that.
What'd you learn?
And I'm not saying this is like a denial.
How few people relatively coronavirus has killed compared.
What I was really surprised is because everyone, they were like, we're gonna have to. Please,
I know.
It's what
Okay.
I like learned the most. That I was shocked.
alright.
I was shooketh.
I think we're trying to downplay coronavirus, which has also been terrible. And
It's been
killed
awful.
millions
Yeah,
of people.
it's awful. But here's the thing: when people were like, "Oh my God, we have to," but they were like, "We have to." Happened so many times.
Here's
before.
how I would phrase this: the reason that coronavirus has like killed relatively so many fewer people is because all these mitigation measures have worked really well. So everybody should feel very good for wearing masks, and social distancing, and watching the show instead of going to the club.
Yeah, the influenza pandemic, which was people know it as the Spanish
Spanish
flu.
flu.
But
not fair to the Spaniards. Everybody got it.
Yeah, it's
Earl in World War I, so they told everyone what was. Well, we're fine. We're here just fighting this war, doing really well.
so that it was estimated to have killed 500 million people.
500 million people. There were like 2 or 3 billion people at that time in like 1918. So yeah, it killed like a quarter of so much faster. There's the stories of like the victory parades for World War I.
Well, the one in Philadelphia.
Yeah. And like
New York didn't have one.
New York, we have so many things to cover. Okay, so influenza killed. Spanish flu killed a quarter of the world.
Yeah, the number one was it was the smallpox one killed 500 million. The Spanish flu killed 50 million.
50 million. Okay, not nearly as
smallpox though. Bad people were getting smallpox.
Just wrecking to 1977.
Yes.
But they had the smallpox vaccine like I guess they didn't.
Smallpox is most often associated with 16. It resulted the most casualties during the last 100 years of existence. Between 1877 and 1977, smallpox was responsible for the deaths. Here, there's the Japanese one, the Mexican one, the Chilean one. Massachusetts had their own.
Yeah, David Ray Martinez says there were only 1.8 billion people on Earth in 1918. So
Plague of Justinian. Then I'm just gonna read it.
That's only 1 in 40 people. Then that's not too bad.
I'm gonna
40
go
people
down.
Got killed by Spanish. Black Plague, I thought killed like a third of Europe.
It killed
many people around back then.
Yeah. Well, it's come up again.
Dark's great grandma died of the Spanish flu.
Oh my god. Yeah. Middle age, like young, vibrant people were at greater risk for the Spanish flu because normally what
is when your body's immune system goes into overdrive, and then it's one of the one of the outcomes of coronavirus.
For class elementary.
Yeah.
The healthier you
depends on your school district.
The healthier you are, the more that your body's like, whoa, what is this? And the stronger your immune system is, Spanish flu.
Yeah.
That's what happened. So the very, very like sort of young people that were going out and about, not like babies or old. But also normally when someone has a mild sickness, they're the ones out and about. And so only the mild version like develop. They're like, go to the trench, and people with
it's
still
still
not
a cool place to hang out, but
people with very severe cases were sent on these.
So it actually had more chance to spread, like the more serious versions of it.
So yeah, the way people tried to treat it with like hot and cold. One of them was like be in like a hot bath and like have like a bunch of ice on your head, and then there were all these like eat onions.
Sent to different climates is like a classic. It's a staple of Russian literature, by the way. Of like every Russian novel, like Tolstoy or Dostoevsky or anything, there's numerous sick people whose doctors have told them to go to like the Alps or was the thing.
The Sound of Music, that's what happened, right? Or like Heidi or something.
Although given how polluted the cities were back then, out in St. Petersburg, whereas there's just like smog everywhere. Pandemics.
Yeah. Well, there's also cholera. There was the Great Plagues. There was there are various different smallpox
Does
incidents.
this have coronavirus on your chart?
Yeah.
Yeah, other COVID-19.
Yeah.
Sounds.
Swine flu, H1N1.
And way above swine flu and above yellow fever and above the Europe's epidemic. So, good job everybody for continuing social distance and wearing your masks.
Yeah.
And it is I don't know what we talked about, which doesn't get talked about enough, but 95% effective fact it was developed. We talked about how it was.
Did another Alex develop it? Because if so, I'm just gonna.
You're done. Immigrant to Germany, actually. And then the Moderna one was developed, I think, by some American scientists.
Oh, are antibacterial hand washes better for?
It doesn't matter that much. An interesting thing about COVID is it's a virus. It's not a bacteria. And so viruses are actually little grease balls that basically contain instructions for self-replicating. They enter your cells and take over your cells and tell your cells to make more virus. Bacteria is a little microscopic animal
with a hydrophilic tail and a lipophobic head.
Yeah, there you go. Just regular soap is super effective.
Tail, lipophobic.
Opposites. So that's why regular hand washing soap is actually more effective than an antibacterial hand, which has it actually
right?
like
rips them apart.
That process takes about 20 seconds. That's why they tell you to wash your hands for 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
But when you get a good lather going, the little soap particles are actually like, but it's not even spread through surfaces that much anyway. It's a respiratory.
Yeah.
It's spread through tiny droplets.
Eco-friendly soap. No, it's great. You don't.
Well, and so as people might not know this actually, the masks, the really effective thing is that yes, they have been shown to reduce the chance of somebody getting the virus, but masks primarily coronavirus, it's like half of people are asymptomatic and have it and don't know it. By wearing a mask, you're really looking out for everybody else who you might be exposed to, and so everybody wearing a mask take at it.
And
so it's
like,
good on both levels.
How many people have like not gotten sick at all this year because we had masks on? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a famous like case of the two. They had seen like over 150 like wore masks and gloves while just doing hair and talking to them. None of their like clients got sick. Face the giant droplet.
Yeah, so masks are really great.
It says antibodies probably last for years.
True that.
And there was just a recent paper in Science, so it's great.
It is. What? There was like another fun fact.
Another,
What was it fun? Because you said you wanted to end on a
another
positive.
fun virus factoid.
Positive note.
Are sexy as well. It is surprising because
do what I'm doing. Cover your Well,
yeah, I mean, if you've ever been to an Asian country like
people wear masks
K-Town,
because they really help.
Masks as a common courtesy to not get other people sick when you were sick. It's always with East Asian fashion.
But if you,
and I think they'll stick around.
If you wanna like feel like you're out tribute to the spread of COVID-19, you could tune in on Saturday because we're gonna throw a two. It's just us two, and we're gonna throw a rave for you to join.
We dropped the ball on that. Yeah, but we've since made amends. We helped rebuild their economy. We felt bad.
Gotta focus on our plugs.
So
we're gonna cover and it's gonna be like an Ariel rave too.
It's an Ariel rave, so I'll be playing 2.5 hours of music starting 9 p.m.
music.
Saturday. Medical theme.
We're gonna
you
deal
ever
with
heard a DJ set about medicine? No.
Yeah. Have you ever seen an Ariel 3 Ariel ambient sets? But you're about to
maybe
see that again.
We produced a similar show previously.
So we're gonna be covering the ancient olden timey times.
You're gonna be a Hippocrates.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be some Victorian.
Some scary Victorian barber dentist.
A personal shout out to healthcare workers.
To healthcare workers, like a cute little sexy latex nurse on a pole.
Rave review.
Yeah, and what are you're gonna have some cool stuff being played behind you.
Yeah, we're gonna break out the green screen. We'll have some great footage of medical operations. We're gonna play medical dramas probably. We're gonna do. We didn't play our game of House MD. We'll do that too.
Yeah.
Episode of House MD. But it should be wonderful.
It's
Dark. When we do it in person, when we get a live cast, you're gonna be in it.
You're in it.
This one has to be a distanced rave.
But if you tune in on Twitch, though, Dr. Wires will talk with you the entire...
I will.
He'll be DJing with one hand.
We get a chat room going.
And chat surgery.
And we'll see you guys soon. As soon as Joe Biden gets that vaccine rolled out, things will be good.
Yeah.
We'll see you in person. But until then, we'll see you this Saturday, 9 p.m. and next...
Because then you can get the green screen. But also on Instagram. Should we play ourselves?
I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friend. My yellow friend. Just to take the sting.
Oh, we have to bring our friend. Our other friend.
The show gets very dark at the end. Yeah.
That means my yellow friend. And then my redheaded friend.
It's so intense for a pretty upbeat show.
Eat the heart.
Bye everyone on Twitch. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna end stream.